Hey y'all, welcome to the Q&A session. I hope you guys have had a great time so far hearing from all our speakers. I will be the representative of Twitter this evening, so if you have any questions that you really want to ask our speakers, tweet them out, have your parent tweet them out. We want to make sure we're asking the questions that you guys want to hear. So with that, Bella.
I'm Bella Karn, and I have questions to read off on my phone as well. As Twitter questions start rolling in, I will also be checking that. So with that, I have a question first for Robbie. So how do you think that the STEM community supports you?
That's a great question. One of the exciting things about my work is that I'm using a lot of open source software, free software. And there are international communities online where if I'm trying to do something, I don't know how to do it, I say, is anybody doing this? And people write in from Portugal, people write in from China. It's an incredible experience, and that's all free and accessible. There's also a wonderful robotics group in Nashville, the Middle Tennessee Robotic Arts Society, and they've been terrific. I brought my motor there when it was just flying off the table, and they helped me figure out the coding. So there's wonderful support online and in your communities with STEM and tech and robotics.
Okay, so this next question is for Tyler. How has being a Kentuckian affected your career, your life, et cetera, et cetera?
How has being a Sorry. Can you all hear me now? Awesome. How has being a Kentuckian affected my career and my
career, life?
I think Kentucky, we don't rank very well on a lot of national polls, but I think Kentucky gives you the opportunity to be a big fish in a small pond, and the people in Kentucky are definitely second to none. The support system that you can have, I think we have a lot of good roots here in our state, but maybe our education system needs to get a leg up. But I guess what I would say is staying here at home allowed me to create connections and a network that was able to support what I did. And so with the bike ride, we had 6 people from across Kentucky that were committed to this effort. And when we did our fundraising across the state, the small towns, even a place like Elizabethtown that I'm from, we had an event that raised $10,000 there, and that was through my parents and connections through the community. And I think sometimes you would expect that if we were starting our ride in California and biking through Denver, that we might raise more money in Denver. But I guess, my emphasis there would just be that your network and your community can be a huge support system to you, and that's not something that should be overlooked.
Okay, my next question is for Jatia. What has your favorite outreach program or activity been?
So I love all outreach because of people like the front row here. You guys give me so much energy. Yay, give yourself a hand. Yeah, all right. And I think just doing youth outreach keeps me young. It keeps me sort of hip. My daughter says I'm not hip, though. But for me, my favorite has been the outreach that I do to African-American women and getting them interested and involved in STEM. Right now in the world, there's lots of changes, and because we are doing so much in so many different realms and things are changing, we have the opportunity to really make a difference. And the youth and their great ideas, I can see that this new generation, they're gonna shake it up. And I wanna inspire that. So I have a YouTube series called STEM Queens, and it's all about awesome people doing awesome careers, and you can go and find out about different people and how STEM careers, you still have a full life and you can be a full person. I have a person who is also a contestant from Survivor. Her name is Tasha. She was on my season, and she's an accountant. Yeah, you know Tasha, see? Look. And she actually is a former cheerleader. So she's this amazing person. She does mathematics. She's an accountant, she's a cheerleader, and she owns a Chick-fil-A. And so I just want to bring that out to the world. So just bring my enthusiasm to that. So.
That's awesome. We have a question for everyone. This one comes from Twitter. Who is your biggest role model?
Is it me?
Sure.
Oh. I'll jump in. I have a few role models. Jane Goodall is one of my serious role models, and she also followed her intuition to revolutionize animal science. She said, "No, it doesn't work this way. They have all this stuff going on, and I'm going to show you how." And she wrote it all down, and she changed how people think about animals. Incredible to me. I'll pass with that.
I would say that there are certainly a lot of people that are accomplishing amazing things across the country, and you can follow them in the news. And I do find inspiration from business leaders, other dentists that are doing amazing things, or just good people making a difference in the world. But I mean, my biggest inspiration, I would definitely lean into, say, my grandfather. And you know, I had two amazing grandfathers. The one that I didn't show on my slideshow was my Papa Jury, who's the dairy farmer. And I think what I admired the most about him was just his commitment to hard work, to his family. He wasn't in anything to provide an excessive benefit to himself, or I just felt like he did the right things the right way. And he wasn't in it for the accolades. He just was committed to hard work and trying to live a life that was commendable and respectable. So, yeah, I find that stuff more inspiring than pointing y'all to Mike Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or someone like that, even though there's a lot that I draw from people like that.
So I'll say I find role models like every day. I have way too many to list. So it can be somebody like Oprah or Beyonce who took an idea and, you know, grew it into something that was beyond their wildest dreams or anybody ever thought of. Or it can be like you guys in the front row who have so much energy that, like, I just feed upon. And I'm like, come back to this front row. I love you guys. I just find it everywhere. Like my fellow panelists, I was listening to what they do and just how they talk, and I was like, oh, I want to be smooth like Tyler. Like I want to be able to be calm and not, you know, have so much energy all the time and learn how to harness that. So I think role models are all around you and can be anybody.
Okay, so this is for all of you, what is one thing that you would say to your 10th grade self?
And to save the awkwardness of who goes first, Tyler, hit us with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll point you all back to my goal setting back then, but the stuff that you think matters doesn't matter. You know, the things that are going to change your life or change other people's lives are things you probably haven't even thought of. And whatever may be occupying your mind, you know, today, tomorrow, next week, is probably not that significant. So just keep your sights set on where you want to be 10 years down the road and keep working toward that path, and the rest will work itself out.
I would say to my 10th grade self, you know, continue being weird. Like I was pretty darn weird in 10th grade, doing things that nobody else around me was doing, and I think that is the things that made me successful. So just to keep it up, because what you bring to the table is you, not you being like everybody else.
10th grade self. You know, I worked so hard. I started playing oboe when I was 8, and I had fantastic teachers. I got my union card when I was 14. I was really creative and bright. I didn't know I was. I was very insecure. I didn't really know I was kind of a prodigy on the oboe, you know, until I was 40. You know, and what I think what I would tell myself is, own who you are, own your talents. It's good. It's a good thing to feel good about what you can do and your talents and your gifts, and how hard you work. These are all really positive things, because self-confidence is important, especially if you're doing unusual, if you're finding a unique path. Self-confidence is really important, and I would work on trying to develop more of that in my 10th grade, I think.
Yeah, those are all awesome. So for Robbie, what challenges did you face initially getting your art out into the world?
Well, kind of like my 10th grade self, I did face challenges. When I was a classical musician, everything was kind of taken care of for me. I was in the union. They told me where to show up. They gave me the music. It was all kind of like I showed up and I played. Everything was good. And in the field I'm in now, I kind of have to find my own way. So I think developing the self-confidence and realizing that, no, I'm actually doing things that other people aren't doing. Like I went to a ITP camp in New York. And, sorry. People told me there that I couldn't do things I was already doing in New York, and I was in Nashville. I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? Like, own your talent, own your creativity, you know? And then once you have that, then I could have the confidence to go out and say, no, actually, I'm doing this, and I would like to bring it to your museum, you know? But it took me a while to get comfortable there. And it goes day by day, a little bit.
Okay, so I have a question for Tyler. If you could spend another summer abroad in another country, one that you haven't been to before, where would it be?
Ooh. Well, first off, I want to tag onto what Robbie said, because my wife is a painter and an artist, and I think that self-confidence thing is huge, because I find all of her art absolutely amazing. I want to buy every piece and put it in my office, and she wants to hide it in a closet and thinks every one of them is horrible, just like her grandmother thinks every meal that she prepares is horrible. But they're actually amazing, so be confident in yourself. I think that's a huge, huge takeaway. As far as another country that I haven't been to, oh my gosh, a whole summer. Japan was so unique, because like I said, I grew up in a small town in Kentucky. I went to a small Baptist church, and that's all I knew about the world. And I was talking with Dr. Julia about traveling when I was at Gatton. The first time I got on a plane was when I was 16, and I was flying to Italy to go study abroad for a couple weeks. It wasn't study abroad. We didn't get credit. We were just traveling. But Japan opened my eyes to so much. I mean, growing up in America, I knew about Pearl Harbor and the bombing. And when I lived in Japan for a summer, I lived in Hiroshima, and I got to see that site. And so you hear one side of the story, and then you see another, and you just start to gain a greater perspective on life and what's out there, and understanding how diverse the world really is. I would say another country. I mean, the first thought in the back of my mind is Spain, just because I would like to be a lot better with my Spanish. I have a sister from Honduras that my parents adopted a few years ago. I'd love to be able to speak to her in that way. So, but I don't feel confident in that answer. So.
Okay, so this is the last question. It was specifically directed to Jataya, but obviously I think this is something that all of you can speak on. How did you get people outside of the state to notice you and your pathway and to just take you seriously?
How did I get people outside of my own state, my home state, to notice me?
Yeah.
Well, I moved around a lot. So I've been different places, been to different countries to make sure that I kind of expanded my horizons and just make sure that I make contacts. So I grew up in Florida, and then I lived most of my life in Illinois, lived in DC for a while, and also now I'm in Idaho. So I just make sure that I make contacts, that I go to things that are outside my little bubble to get outside my comfort zone. So if it's a professional thing, it's maybe a conference like the American Nuclear Society. When I traveled abroad, and I've had the good fortune of traveling to quite a few places, I make sure that I make contacts and connections and keep those contacts and say hello to people and ask them how they're doing. It's amazing how much information you can get just by asking somebody, what are you doing? What's going on with you? People love to talk about themselves. I know I do. So it is a great way to just expand your horizons, to make contacts and keep in contact with those connections.
That is all the time we have. I think we finished right on the buzzer. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you to the attendants. Thank you to the speakers. And yeah, hit them with it.